Metallica es una banda estadounidense de heavy metal. La banda se formó en 1981 en Los Angeles por el vocalista, guitarrista James Hetfield y el baterista Lars Ulrich, y ha estado radicada en San Francisco durante la mayor parte de su carrera. Los tempos rápidos, instrumentales y musicalidad agresiva de la banda los convirtieron en una de las cuatro grandes bandas fundadoras de thrash metal, junto a Megadeth, Anthrax y Slayer. La formación actual de Metallica incluye a los miembros fundadores y compositores principales Hetfield y Ulrich, el guitarrista principal Kirk Hammett y el bajista Robert Trujillo. El guitarrista Dave Mustaine, que pasó a formar Megadeth después de ser despedido de la banda y los bajistas Ron McGovney, Cliff Burton, quien murió en un accidente de autobús en Suecia en 1986, y Jason Newsted, son ex miembros de la banda. Comunidad de música underground y ganó elogios de la crítica con sus primeros 5 álbumes. El tercer álbum de la banda, Master of Puppets 1986, fue descrito como uno de los álbumes de thrash metal más pesados y influyentes. Su quinto álbum homónimo, Metallica 1991, el primero de la banda en arraigar predominantemente en el heavy metal, atrajo a una audiencia más convencional, logrando un éxito comercial sustancial y vendiendo más de 16 millones de copias en los Estados Unidos hasta la fecha, convirtiéndolo en el más vendido álbum de la era SoundScan. Después de experimentar con diferentes géneros y direcciones en lanzamientos posteriores, la banda volvió a sus raíces de thrash metal con el lanzamiento de su noveno álbum, Death Magnetic 2008. En 2000, Metallica lideró el caso contra el servicio de intercambio de archivos peer-to-peer Napster, en el que la banda y varios otros artistas presentaron demandas contra el servicio por compartir su material protegido por derechos de autor sin consentimiento. Después de llegar a un acuerdo, Napster se convirtió en un servicio de pago por uso en 2003. Y las luchas internas dentro de la banda en ese momento. En 2009, Metallica fue incluida en el Salón de la Fama del Rock and Roll. Metallica ha lanzado 10 álbumes de estudio, 4 álbumes en vivo, un álbum de portadas, 5 obras de teatro extendidas, 37 sencillos y 39 videos musicales. Metallica se ubica como una de las bandas de mayor éxito comercial de todos los tiempos, habiendo vendido más de 125 millones de álbumes en todo el mundo a partir de 2018. Metallica ha sido catalogado como uno de los mejores artistas de todos los tiempos por revistas como Rolling Stone, que los clasificó en el N61 en su lista de los 100 mejores artistas de todos los tiempos. A partir de 2017, Metallica es el tercer artista musical más vendido desde que Nielsen SoundScan comenzó a rastrear las ventas en 1991, vendiendo un total de 58 millones de álbumes en los Estados Unidos.
So, the new album will be out next month in Britain. and we'll talk about that later. But going back to the beginning, it's quite a while now since the first album was out, and you were sort of labelled as a thrash band then. And just this morning, I sort of read something in the music press about, you know, metal thrash stars, Metallica. You must be pretty bored with the thrash tag.
It's the other Metallica. We're the non-thrash Metallica. There's
Yeah,
the other band
that's
clowning
right.
around somewhere saying
That's
thrash.
right.
I don't know. It doesn't really bother me much anymore. A couple of years ago, I was like really worried about being called a thrash band because I thought, you know, we're not. Now I'm pretty much at ease with it. If some journalist wants to call us a thrash band, I think it just makes him look stupid, because I think we know, and I think most of the people out there know that we're not really a thrash band, so it just looks, whoever's labeling us a thrash band looks silly. And I don't know, it just doesn't really bother me that much anymore.
What about the, you once said, going back a while, that if you had to have a label it would be sort of power metal. Does that still apply? Or is that...
It sounds like it was a while ago. I don't know, I mean, just these labels and stuff, I don't really think... A couple years ago, people were like, well, you know, trying to force a label on you, and I think that we just thought power metal for a few minutes was a nice alternative, but now it just doesn't really seem like any of these labels matter much. That's why we have a band name, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. So looking back over the albums and over all the years, how has the band developed? I mean, are you more of a unit now, or are there sort of disadvantages to longevity? Or
well, I mean, the first album, all that material was written, you know, about 2 years prior to it coming out. So the transition from the first to the second album seems like a huge one, because the material was quite a bit older. And you know, actually putting a slower song on the second album kind of freaked people out, and then we just kind of grew as musicians along the way. And I think this last one is pretty much our best one, of course.
That's what we're supposed to say.
We'll talk about that later.
Who record's the best one?
But on to the sort of the subject matter of the songs. Whenever I sort of read, you know, the titles on the album, it's always sort of like a book list from the kind of Sunday Times. It always sounds like, you know. But like, the majority of bands sort of like tend to sing either about sort of Satan and the end of the world, or about sex or whatever. But you sort of, you know, tackle some quite heavy issues. Are you very conscious that you know, stay away from the usual cliches?
Well, we've always prided ourselves on kind of being a little different from all the others, and I don't know, Satan's not on our mind too much, you know. And we just kind of go with more of a mental kind of thing, and, you know, kind of mental anguish or cruelty, or just stuff that makes you think a bit. And I think Satan
more
doesn't
fun too, to just kind of tackle things that are just not so obvious. You know, I think we became pretty clear early on that it was just a bit more of a challenge, and just trying to like go for something that was just not so like what everybody else is doing, and it's kind of more fun.
So why do you think other bands don't do it? Do you think they're afraid to, or?
I don't think a
too
lot
lazy?
of people use their imaginations as much as they probably could, and just kind of, oh, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know, let's go for the easy kill. I don't know, just, I think we've just always been kind of just bored with, like I said earlier, the obvious, and it just seems to be a bit more funner, just trying to like, you put yourself in some situations where you actually like have to like just kind of use your imagination or think a bit more, and it just kind of makes it a bit more interesting.
So, in terms of what's sort of happening at the moment with other bands, how do you view the sort of the metal scene at the moment? Because Lars, especially you, you.
I don't know, kind of mixed feelings about it. Like bands like Faith No More and the Chili Peppers and stuff like that come along, and you go, oh, you know, it's pretty cool, and nobody can like label these bands, and it kind of gives it, makes it interesting for a while. And then, you know, you end up in MTV land again, and all these bands that, you know, have a tendency to start with W, you know, and then you kind of go, oh no, not more of this stuff, and it's kind of up and down. Right now, there's a couple good things out there, but I think things are pretty much at a standstill right now. It's just a lot of crap, regurgitated.
Which bands do you think are doing good work at the moment? Honest.
What, at the moment?
Wrong.
I think the Armored Saint record's cool, the Metal Church record's pretty cool, the Mindfunk record's cool, I like the Skid Row record.
What about your favorite band?
It's not out yet. No. Chris Isaac?
No,
that's him.
NW something.
NWA? No, this is a rock show, man. I don't know who NWA is on this show.
You released the 79 Revisited compilation. You sort of got that together.
Right.
In sort of hindsight, do you think that was it? Why did you do that?
I don't know. I think I just needed to do that, just for like my own peace of mind or something. I don't know.
I wanted it on CD.
Yeah. I can't say that on camera.
Sorry.
Well, I had all these singles and I wanted them on CD, and this was the easiest way of doing it. No, I don't know. It seemed like a cool thing to do. Nobody had really, a lot of people would always, talk to me about this thing, and it just seemed like, I guess through my perverse interest in this thing and always talking about it in interviews, kids would always come up and go, what does this stuff sound like? We can never find it anywhere. And I just thought, maybe it'd be cool to kind of put it all under one banner and just kind of throw it out there for the people that were interested in checking it out. And I did, and that was pretty much it. I got it on CD. A few other people were interested. It wasn't like a big kind of, runaway success thing, but it wasn't really meant to be. A few people in the last week have said, were you like disappointed with it or whatever, but it wasn't really meant to kind of be like the huge chart thing. It was just more for a lot of people that were interested in that kind of thing. I think they went and seeked it out, and I think they got something out of it. I think maybe it surprised me a little bit that there weren't more of the younger kids today that are like more interested in what kind of went on, just say 10 years ago or even 15. It just seems like kind of maybe surprised about how little people today, the younger 14-year-old kids or whatever, care about what went on, what got the music to the level that it's at right now. It just kind of seems like nobody really cares about what went on in the past.
So in terms of like comparing the 79 bands, do you think bands today perhaps have lost a little bit of individuality?
Well, I think the main thing back then was that you had all these bands that all had their own thing going. You kind of look at the thing now and you got a lot of bands that are just following in everybody else's footstep. But I think in '79 had all these bands like doing their own thing, their own personalities, their own sound, and just their own songwriting things going on. Things were a bit like just kind of fresher, more individual back then. Now everybody's just kind of doing what everybody else is doing.
Talking of following in other people's footsteps, you obviously set a precedent, back with your first album. Do you think, bands like Slayer and Exodus, etc., do you think they're basically copying what you did?
I don't think they're copying. I mean, when all of it kind of started out, everyone was a little short-sighted and said that everyone pretty much sounded the same. As you get into, second and third albums, you kind of develop your own style a little more, and it's definitely apparent now, between us and Slayer and Exodus, and certain people are still stuck in the past, and certain people are kind of growing.
In terms of videos, I know you've never been keen on videos, but I understand there is a video to the new single, which we'll talk about in a minute. But why is sort of the video format why have you never considered it to be good for you?
I think it in the early days had a lot to do with just the fact that we weren't really into sort of being told what to do. We weren't into following the kind of set ways of how you're supposed to play this game and the music business and the marketing things, and here's the band, and here's the visual, and here's the video, and here's the radio song, and all that kind of stuff. And it just, I don't know, just never felt comfortable. And we're actually very close to doing a video for a track off Ride the Lightning. We were very close to doing one on the Puppets album, and just kind of in the 11th hour, we just kind of backed out of it. And then finally on the Justice album, we just went for it. And now I kind of like it. We did a video for the keyword. It's just not really afraid of it anymore. It just seems like kind of a fun thing to toy with,
Yeah, I don't think we knew how much we could control how much the video looked or where it went, and have to edit loads of it out, and so now we're a little more confident of how we can control it.
You do have quite a lot of control in the studio, when you're recording your own stuff, so surely it should go for the video as well.
We have pretty much control over everything we do, and it just, I guess looking back on it now, it kind of, I'm happy that we stuck with our, instincts and just didn't do them for a while, but now I know that video is just like another thing along the line that you can have total control over, and you can use as a kind of like creative outlet or whatever, just like making records or doing any other thing that you do when you're in a band, and I feel kind of just a lot more comfortable about dealing with it now, you know.
So how did the video for One come about? I mean, you know, I know you said you just felt like doing it, but where did the idea come from? Was that your idea, or?
One day, Peter Mensch showed up at a gig and said, check this out, boys. And we did. And they just had this idea about, you know, this movie, and kind of, we were just kind of sitting there going, you know, what's wrong with this guy? And after a while, when we started, I guess, taking it seriously, we just realized it was a pretty cool idea. Just about, you know, taking bits of this movie, and it just kind of fit in with the overall song and everything.
It was a pretty basic idea. I mean, the song's about that book, and they made a movie after that, so let's take chunks of that. And a little guy with a box on his head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, just seemed pretty cool to do it, and it seemed, it's weird, like when you have a concept, which I also noticed with the Inner Sandman videos, you have a concept, and that's really only kind of like half of it, and then there's so many things about videos I think that we still don't know, that we're kind of learning. It's about all the things that you do when you like edit it together, and all the different visual things that you can do with blending things, and all this kind of crap that we're like complete new at, you know. It's like, it's kind of weird. So, you know, the idea was there, it was pretty cool, and then just the whole way it was put together, that's what kind of made it, you know, work.
Right, so you've got the new album will be released here on, I think it's August the 12th. It's been virtually 3 years, hasn't it, since the last album?
Yeah, pretty much.
September '88, yeah. So I know you've been touring and touring, but why is it touring? So why is it taking so long to get an album together?
It's just, I don't know, it just seems to be kind of the cycle we're in. You know, it takes us about, we tour for about 1.5 years. It takes us, you know, we took about 6-8 months off, and then from when we start writing songs till we're done with the record, it's about 10 months to a year. There's 3 years already, so that just seems to be what we're kind of stuck in right now. So, you know, next one will be out in '94.
I'm just taking time with anything, you know, you want it just right. And we kind of got the money now to make sure that it's right. I mean, however long you're in the studio, you know, oh, it's costing this much, oh my God, you know, and in the long run, it doesn't really matter if you're happy with the work. And I mean, 6-month break, we definitely needed after that long tour. And then writing the material, I mean, we take huge pride in writing that. We can't just churn out, you know, 30 songs and pick out the 12 best or whatever.
How long did it sort of take to write that? I mean, was it a case of, you know, saying, right, we're going to, you know, put this time aside and we're just going to write it, or did you wait for the time to be right?
It came together fairly quick,
I think really quick by our standards. I think the whole writing process took about like 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and it was pretty much there.
Per song.
Oh, I mean, it was quick, really. And I don't know, it's just like it'd been 3 years since we'd written last. Obviously the ideas were stacking up, and it was just kind of, I think after taking the 8 months off and all that, we really, I mean, that was the right thing to do, because when we came back to it, we were like, you know, really gung-ho and going for it. So it was pretty much the right thing to do.
Did you go directly into the studio, or did you sort of live with the songs for a while before you went in there?
We got a couple months to kind of jam on them, and that was the cool thing. We didn't get to do that on some of the other albums. You know, have a few of them ready and we'd all jam on them together and go in the studio and still be writing stuff, or the other guys had never even played it with us. So, you know, when the tour's about to start, it's like, hey, Kirk, here's the riff, you know, here's how you play it.
Still say that in the tour's over.
But this one we kind of, well, we got to jam on them for a couple months and get them really kind of settled in and kind of see where they were going. And all the vocal stuff was almost ready to go too, well, except for lyrics. But all the phrasing, so everyone knew kind of where the song was sitting. And that helps, like with each person, you know, him doing drum stuff's not going to step on the vocals or, you know, guitar things.
Plus, it was the first time that we ever actually really kind of sat with a producer, you know, somebody else. It was kind of like weird at first, like we're in this rehearsal room and this guy sitting in the middle of the room taking notes. It was like, that was a little scary for the first couple of days, but after we got comfortable with that, it was just great. He really didn't change much around in the songwriting, but it was just good to have somebody kind of sitting there throwing ideas at you, and it was kind of like, almost like what other bands do. Pretty frightening.
I remember you saying
we say no.
I remember you saying actually that you just couldn't imagine being in the studio with anybody else except Fleming, so it must be...
Yeah, well, I say a lot of things that I regret like a year later. So I've learned to like kind of, you know, just last couple of years, just, you know, you open up your mind to different things and you just got to go with what feels right. And you can't worry about what you've said 4 years ago in an interview, and just got to learn, like, you just basically look at things differently, you know, when you get older.
So was Bob your choice or the record company's choice?
That was completely our thing. I mean, it wasn't even like there was like a list of people or anything like that. You know, it was just like, well, there's this Bob Rock guy, maybe we should meet him. So we flew up and met him. It was not really like a huge thing. I mean, it was not like, you know, 10 people on the list or something being forced upon us by our management or record company. They were all very happy that we finally sort of looked outside the band for somebody else to, you know, with Fleming, you know, was never really a producer in the classic sense of that word. He was just more like a real technical...
More super engineer kind of.
Yeah.
Push the button and wouldn't really kind of, well, I can't hear what you're singing there or this or, you know, no real kind of coaching. He would just say, out of tune or, you know, do it again, you know.
It was not very performance oriented, which I think it just came apparent to us. We really needed somebody to start kind of helping us get some life into our records, you know. And Bob just had made some pretty lively records, and we went to him.
And Fleming knew what we wanted sound-wise, and then with the song and performance, it didn't really screw with us. But Bob helped out in that part.
So was Bob like a producer in like the full sense of the word?
Yeah, I don't think we really knew what a producer was supposed to do. And what a producer does is makes you sound more like you know,
Helps
and not,
you, yeah.
you know, not taking Bon Jovi ideas and putting them on this band. It's not his thing, you know. It's him pulling the best stuff out of you.
Yeah, just being objective about things in a different way. You might sit there and go, you know, that's how I want it or whatever, but just because you're like in the middle of tracking it or something like that, you just can't kind of step outside of yourself and kind of look in, and that's where somebody like Bob is really helpful. Because when you convey to him what it is you're after, and then when you feel that, okay, now this guy understands what it is we're after, then you can kind of leave it with him, and then you can just worry a lot more just about the performances and going for it, and then you have him to kind of worry about overseeing and making all kind of major decisions, you know, do you know what I mean, about that kind of stuff. So it's kind of just a little easier for us to deal with, you know.
So in that sort of situation where you could lose perspective quite easily, you have to really trust the guy. You have to trust him to...
But I think that once when we did trust him, I mean, it took a little while, but when you finally say, this guy knows what we want to do with his record, then it was cool. Do you know what I mean? So it took a couple weeks, but it's fine.
I mean, obviously, sort of as he's known, you know, for doing work with more mainstream bands, there's, I mean, sort of the record you've made is very sort of direct and very energetic, but there is almost a kind of a feel to it of sort of like the older sort of AC/DC type stuff. I can really sort of like feel that in it.
What song?
On the whole thing. The whole thing. I mean, would you agree that Metallica is just becoming a little bit more mainstream?
Well, the simple, I mean,
Yeah.
the simplicity of it is
All the
probably
things,
what you hear
know,
the
all
AC/DC.
you know, all the things together. You know,
Couple
you have
of
a
riffs
different
per song.
You have a different approach to songwriting. You have a different thing that you go for production-wise. You know, a lot of people have been telling me the last couple of weeks that it's an easier record to listen to, and they kind of say that, sort of, you know, suggesting, you know, that it's some kind of contrived thing. But the thing is that when you just have a different approach to the way you write the songs, and you have, like, actually almost like enjoy yourself when you're playing, and that comes across, this like kind of different feeling that I think we've ever had on a record before, then I think all those things make it easier to listen to. It's not the fact that we sat down and said, let's make a record that's easier to listen to. It's just like when we're like having fun and all this kind of attitude and thing comes through in the playing, then that makes it easier for you to kind of listen to and kind of be part of what we're trying to do or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, there really is a sort of there's a thing of you know, once said, again, sort of quoting you ages ago, that you once said that you wanted to stay one step ahead of other bands. Does that not matter to you anymore? Or do you think you still are staying one step ahead of other bands?
I don't think we really try. It's just kind of...
It's just, a lot of that stuff is a lot more subconscious. You just kind of, it's like it comes up in interviews afterwards. You sit there, you know, somebody throws a question at you, and it's like, oh, why do we do that? And then, well, maybe it's because, you know, we just do things, you know, we've always wanted to do things differently than what a lot of everybody else is doing, and sometimes you just might look at somebody else and just kind of subconsciously say to yourself, well, maybe we should just do things a little bit different than what this band does, and then you just kind of go this way for a little while. And I don't know, just most of that stuff, I always find myself sitting in interviews and talking about it. It just seems like when we do things, it just happens. And then people always want answers afterwards. It's kind of weird trying to analyze something that doesn't really take a lot when you just talk, you know, just get it together, you know. Me and him will sit down and go, let's write some shorter songs, and the conversation takes about 5 seconds. It's like, let's write some shorter songs, okay, you know, let's do this, okay, and it's like, you know, 30 seconds later.
But why do you do that?
Yeah.
Why
So,
do you
you know,
just think of things?
yeah, especially in England. They want more answers in England than anywhere else. So we're getting out of here today.
Absolutely, absolutely.
El 7 de Marzo de 1999, Metallica fue incluida en el Paseo de la Fama de San Francisco. El alcalde de San Francisco, Willie Brown, proclamó el Día Oficial de Metallica. La banda recibió el premio MTV Icon en 2003 y se llevó a cabo un concierto en homenaje a la banda con artistas interpretando sus canciones. Las actuaciones incluyeron some 41 y un popurrí de por quien doblan las campanas, Enter Sandman y Master of Puppets. Stained hizo una versión de Nothing Else Matters, Avril Lavigne interpretó Fuel, el artista de hip hop Snoop Dogg interpretó Sad But True, Korn interpretó One, y Limp Bizkit interpretó Welcome Home Sanitarium. La serie de videojuegos Guitar Hero incluyó varias de las canciones de Metallica. 1. Se utilizó en Guitar Hero 3. El álbum Death Magnetic fue lanzado más tarde como contenido descargable y adquirable para el juego. Trapped Under Ice apareció en la secuela, Guitar Hero World Tour. En 2009, Metallica colaboró con los desarrolladores del juego para hacer Guitar Hero, Metallica, que incluye varias canciones de Metallica. La serie de videojuegos de Harmonix, Rock Band, incluyó Enter Sandman, Y Battery, Ride the Lightning, Blackened, Y. And Justice for All fueron lanzados como pistas descargables. En 2013, debido a la expiración de las licencias de contenido, Ride the Lightning, Blackened, Y. And Justice for All ya no están disponibles para descargar.
We've been thinking about this for a while and kind of toying with the idea. We've been doing festivals for 30 years, and we kind of know what we like and don't like, and been all over the world doing them. And we've seen what other people have tried to do and wanted to do it better. And you know, it just seems like most of the time you're either doing one style of music or it's all kind of crazy different styles. So we wanted to get something kind of somewhere in the middle where you've got the different stages that have a little bit different stuff to offer. And as far as the lifestyle stuff for me is, you know, cars, engines, grease, noise, bikes, stuff like that. People think my hearing is gone because of music, but it's probably because of cars. But you know, we're going to chop a car over there, so people will be able to see what I'm into as far as customizing cars, what goes into that, what craftsmen are out there, and you know, what does it actually look like with the car in pieces, and what it's going to look like at the end, how you actually put that together. And you know, people have driven their own cars, and we have friends and other bands that have given us their cars for the show, and hopefully people get to see a you know, from there's your car, Kirk, right there, going in. There's Kirk's car, black car right there.
Who's driving it?
We just ran over some kid.
It's
what?
It's quite old, really. Isn't
Oh
it?
man.
It's quite an old
Yeah,
car.
who's
All right,
driving
festival's off. Sorry.
Who's driving it off the property?
My car.
But anyway, you know, get to see some cars, and hopefully there'll be some noise, some dragsters, some big cars making some big noise and rivaling some of the other stages. So there you go.
So while James is doing that, I think Rob, you'll be doing.
Well, I'll probably be eating some food backstage. No, just kidding, by the way. No, basically for me, having this festival so close to the ocean is really special. There are not very many festivals like this that you actually have by a beach and a body of water. So for me, that's great. I thought it'd be really interesting to incorporate a half pipe, some skateboarding. I know James and I grew up around the skate culture down in SoCal, and having those guys skating here, some of the top skaters in the world from the Vans team, is really exciting to me. There'll be a little bit of music at the Vans tent, and as you know, I mean, we have music everywhere, and that's another beautiful thing. It's like every corner of this festival, you got something going on sonically. Like James said, he's got the car engines blasting, and you know, and you've got various stages around. So this is exciting, and for us, it's kind of a bit more casual. It's kind of more of a hang than anything, and I like that as well, because you get caught up in certain festivals or shows, especially with us, and we can't really get out there and communicate so well. We do the best we can, but in this situation, I think we hope that it'll be a little easier. And yeah, so for me, I'm excited about the water being so close and being with all our friends.
That's a great point. It's a way of people really getting to know you guys better through your various lifestyle areas. It's excellent. So we have horror.
Yes, we have Kirk's.
We have horror.
We have Kirk's Crypt, which is my lifestyle tent. And what it is it's basically a tent filled with a bunch of horror pieces from my vast horror collection. And we're also going to have a makeup artist doing up people as zombies. We're going to have reproductions of horror movie posters. We're going to have a little a viewing area that has some artwork that some of my friends who are artists are going to be displaying. And also my car is going to be there. And also, a part of the tent is going to have a little section for my book that's coming out in October called Too Much Horror Business on Abram Books. Get it on Amazon. No, just kidding.
Great
I
stuff.
want a copy.
That's great stuff.
And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun if you're into. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun if you're into horror movies or monsters or zombies or whatever. You can go in there and get lost and get scared as much as you want. And also, with Rob's tent, there's also, not only is there a skate thing, but there's also going to be a Billabong surf thing, which Rob and I are going to be part of on Sunday. We're going to go out to the beach with a bunch of people, and there's going to be a bunch of pro surfers there surfing. There's going to be a contest, and at one point, Rob and I are going to do some tow-ins on really small waves like this on jet skis.
But we're going to blast like 20-foot airs.
Yeah, we're totally like
rodeo
totally,
flips,
360s,
yeah, 360 backside aerials.
yeah.
You've never seen anything like it. Kirk and I, we go tandem too.
Yeah.
Like he jumps over me, I jump over him.
And then we jump holding hands.
We high five each other. It's great.
Yeah.
Is there a hoop of fire? Sorry.
No, there's zombies chasing us.
Yeah, there's a couple of zombies.
Anyway.
But if I can also
That's
now...
the Billabong Surf and Lifestyle tent, I believe it's called.
And then, Lars, we have the silver screen.
I have a movie tent where I'm going to be showing movies of Kirk and Rob surfing. And of James's cars. I'm going to sit in there, it's air conditioned, and it's nice and chill, and it's relaxing. Now, I have a movie tent. My thing, as some of you may know, is I'm kind of infatuated with film and the whole film world, and that's my escape and my passion. And so I'm showing a few films that relate to Metallica and a few films that, you know, there's a friend of mine who runs the California Film Institute out in Marin up in Northern California where we live, and he asked me to come over and show films occasionally and kind of do Q&As and that. House of Air, have you been? if you borrow one of these, you can go. It's very cool. It's in San Francisco. Take your kids.
I will.
Fun. We'll bring one here next year.
Got it.
But so the California Film Institute, they asked me to come over and show crazy films that inspire me that nobody on this planet have seen, and then we do little Q&As and talk about them, and a couple of hundred members of the Met Club show up and cheer me on and sit and watch these films with me, and I love showing crazy, nutty films, and that's kind of what I'm going to be doing over in that tent over there. It's air-conditioned and very chill, casual. There'll be hopefully no water in there. And no loud noises. But that's kind of my thing, and that's what I'm going to be doing the next 2 days.
Great. If we can throw it open now to you guys and gals and questions you've got, I'll do a bit of a pointer, and there'll be a mic that will reach you, and fire away. I saw your hand go up first, sir. Yep. It was you. Yeah, in the front. That's okay.
Yeah.
First, 1, 2.
Why
Get you second.
Why did you guys choose Atlantic City for this site? It's your only North American performance. Why choose this place?
Good weather. Awesome weather.
Nice people.
The beach.
It's close to a beach, so Robert Kirk can surf.
Go
No,
surfing.
it's we did a thing out in San Francisco in December, a Fillmore thing. A lot of members of our fan club, or basically for only members of our fan club, and I think increasingly, with members of our fan club, we want to, we try to do these special events and position them in places that are easy for our fans from all over the world to travel to. So obviously East Coast, obviously near, DC, Philly, New York, Boston, Toronto, so on. But obviously you can have a lot of Europeans come over, and you can have a lot of people from the West Coast come here. It's easy, accessible. It's not, we played festivals in the past that are, 10 miles down a 2-lane dirt road on a farm, that type of thing. So we've done that experience, and we've heard the complaints. So we wanted to try to put something together in a place with a bit of infrastructure, and running water, and not just natural electricity, but also real electricity. So it's this seemed like a great place, and there was a show here last year, and there was a show here last weekend, so so it has a little bit of an existing infrastructure, so we're psyched to be here.
Great. We've got this chap in the front here.
Yeah. Hey, how you guys doing? Rich Livesey from metalswag.com. With so many albums in Metallica's discography, how did you guys decide on performing Ride the Lightning and the Black Album? I mean, I love those records, but you guys could have went with Kill 'Em All or Master of Puppets or any other combination. How did you guys come down, get that down to pick that?
Because you don't like them. No. No. You did mention a few others that are awesome as well. We did Master of Puppets on the anniversary tour, that was 4 years ago? Whenever it came out. I'm not good at math, but anyway, 20-year anniversary. The Black Album tour, Black Album, playing the Black Album in its entirety. We've just been doing that over in Europe. It's 20-year anniversary. And I guess Ride the Lightning was the other one that we just keep hearing people wanting to hear. And it's another great album to play in its entirety. So there you go.
There we go, matey.
Hope you dig it.
Yeah. Hi, over here, Darren Davis from Artisan News. I just wanted to ask what the biggest challenge was in revisiting Ride the Lightning.
Has there been a challenge?
There hasn't been too many big challenges I could see.
It's just, it's trying to figure out, just with any of these types of things, the first time you do them in their entirety, it's just try to figure out how to sequence it, how to, you put a little kind of a visual thing together at the front, you try to figure out the way to present it in its best way without being too dramatic or too, cheesy or too self-obsessed or too, backpatting, so it's a lot of the songs on Ride the Lightning, we've obviously have been live staples over the last few decades. So it hasn't, probably between Puppets, which we did 6 years ago on the Black Album, which we just did, Ride the Lightning may be the easiest one. What we do a lot in Metallica over the years is we kind of change our songs around because we get bored with endings or middle parts or challenge ourselves to come up with different ways. So when we did Puppets back in the day, we kind of played the album as it was, and it was kind of weird to go back and relearn some of the parts we'd taken out. With the Black Album, it was a little challenging to figure out a couple of those songs, like The Struggle Within and so on, that we'd never played before. But with Ride the Lightning, we just rehearsed it over there for about a half an hour. And so far, that's hasn't been too problematic. But ask me again about 28 hours from now. I'll see if I'll give you a different answer.
Great. So the chap, I was going to say with a camera and a tripod, he's in the very front, and he's going to stand up and turn and look. And
Hey guys, Matt Bishop from therockrevival.com.
Howdy.
You guys have had, hey, how you doing? You guys have had an extensive career, headlined the biggest festivals in the world, done the drill over and over, but what is the energy like with this one, knowing that it's something that you yourselves have fostered?
Very scary. Hope that people will show up, kind of the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, the cars, the scary house, all the other stuff, that is, accessory items, At the end of the day, it's about the music. People come to a festival for the hang, for the music, hang with their friends, and soak up, hopefully, some different style of music. I think what we've got is we've got the best of different kinds of music. There's quite a few bands on the bill that I'm not a big fan of, but I respect the fact that they're good at what they do. And opening the door for someone who might enjoy that is part of it as well. And, we try not to get too caught up in the, oh my God, I Google alerted my name and all the crap came up about this and that and, all the haters that are out there. There's plenty of that if you want it. But I think we're going to keep, walking forward with a positive mission involved. All the bands that are on this bill, we're proud to have here and want them to have fun and to people to enjoy them. There's a lot of, especially the metal bands, that need the exposure. We think they're good and they need the exposure, and we're kind of doing our best to get them out in front of people. We've been blessed over the 30 years to have built up an amazing family, and we'd like to share some of our family with some of these other bands.
Next up.
Hi, Sebastian from Chile. There is a chance to bring
pop
this
the mic just a
festival.
little closer to
there is a chance to bring this festival to another country or maybe South America.
Chile, here we come. All you got to do is invite us, and then we show up. It's that simple.
We'll be there.
I think, right, let's have that conversation on Monday. let's just get through this. It's, we're increasingly, we sort of find ourselves in positions that we're not too, we like to challenge ourselves and put ourselves into situations where it's unknown. And so a lot of that stuff is a lot of fun. It's obviously also a little daring, and we're not really sure what's going to happen, like James was hinting at. So let's have that conversation about, next year and other countries. Let's just get through the next 72 hours and see what the vibe is. We feel good about what's going on. It's exciting and it's fun, but it's also nerve-wracking as fuck, obviously, to kind of be the hosts and be ultimately the ones responsible for this whole fucking thing. So let's talk about next year and all that shit next week. Take it a day at a time here.
Yeah, along with just the idea of, hey, we're Metallica, let's do a festival. Sounds like a good idea, but all of the other stuff that goes along with it, the business side, the safety side, all of that is not something that we've signed up for when we started playing in the garage. We know that, but we've got the best people, hopefully, who know how to do that, and the idea is to have everyone have a crazy time, but safe. We don't want anyone getting, really injured here or putting a bad mark on anyone's life because of this.
Hi. I was just wondering you were talking about the different things that you've been doing, like with the cars and everything like that. Which bands are each of you most excited to see? Like, which ones reflect your personalities?
1 o'clock tomorrow, Baroness. I've never been anywhere near a fucking gig or a festival at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the day we're playing, but I'll be here with bells and whistles on to see Baroness. They played with us in Australia 2 years ago, and they have a new record coming out very soon, and that record is fucking awesome, and I'll be here. And I'm psyched to see the Arctic Monkeys, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm psyched to see a band called the Hot Snakes from Southern California, which I've loved for years, so lots of stuff for me.
Yeah, I'm really into seeing Gary Clark Jr. I think he's a really great guitar player. Pretty unusual sounding. I've never seen him before, so this is my moment to see him because I never get to see anyone really. And I'm really excited about Cage the Elephant, Ghost, who are just like a really, really great metal band from Sweden. We're big fans of. And so, yeah, it should be good.
Well, if I don't say Suicidal Tendencies, I'll get my ass kicked.
Mike Muir track you down, bro.
Yeah, that you don't want. But there's so many great bands on this. Obviously ranging from Suicidal to Torch to, bands like Arctic Monkeys and just such a variety and such a great mix. You don't get that very often around these parts. So. I'm happy to actually discover some new bands. Some of the bands that I'm not so familiar with, I'd like to check them out and see what's going on out there. Educate myself a little bit.
Yeah, same here. I've done some homework on checking up on all the bands that have been put on the bill, and I want to see them all. I want to see every one of them and see what they have to offer. For me, listening to an album is great, puts you in a mood, takes you somewhere, does that stuff. But seeing a band live is for me. I think as always wanting to be someone closer to the crowd, closer to the listener, live is where that really, really happens. So some bands can pull it off live and some can't. And it's not the mark of a good band, but I love seeing a band live and what they do with their listener.
We've got time for maybe one, maybe two more questions.
Okay.
So
this question is directed at Robert and Kirk. I know you guys are familiar with how stoked the surf community is that you guys surf. And so I'd like to know, based on your photo surfing at Pipe, Kirk, this goes to both of you, what is the one song, we'll say Suicidal Tendencies and Metallica, the entire catalogs, what is the one song you guys would play to get you ready to sack up and psych up to surf maybe a Second Reef Pipe?
Well, of our own songs?
Yeah, it could be, it has to be within Metallica or Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, for me, I guess with Suicidal would be, there was a song called Surf and Slam back in the day, but I would say a song like Possessed to Skate or something would get me fired up. And then Suicide in Redemption, for me, I think is a really great song for paddling out and, tackling a beast like Pipe.
Ride the Lightning always gets me psyched for just about anything physical like that. It's not a super fast song, but it just has that feel that I want to be feeling when I'm about to paddle into a hairy wave or something. That feeling of impending doom is something that I sometimes feel when I'm paddling out and I look behind me and there's this big wave coming. I'm like, oh crap! I better paddle.
Hairy wave.
The truth is that I'm sure, like with anything, people that ski or snowboard, so often you think music. There's a song that day that kind of sticks with you, and that'll be your groove for that session.
But there is one song that just obsessively comes into my mind every time I'm paddling out, and it's not even a heavy metal song. It's a Bob Marley song called Soul Rebel, and I don't know why, but it always pops into my head when I'm in the water paddling. It's just one of those things.
I know why it pops into your head.
two more questions. Fire away, my good man.
Hey Lars, Kirk, Roberto, and James. Thank you so much on behalf of all metalheads, all music fans from all over the world. I was there celebrating with so many in December in San Francisco and now here. just what you do for us fans is amazing, and it just touches all of our souls. I have a quick question. A lot of talk around nowadays about rock being dead and people talking about it, that it's not alive anymore. I think it's my life for one. But for you guys to do this and what you guys do, you can answer to everybody how you feel the state of rock is doing in 2012.
Yeah. You're here. It's alive. All right? It's in your heart. It's in our hearts. How can it die? It'll never die. You don't retire from this. I mean, you live it like you do. We're grateful to you, brother.
Totally. And as long as there's the metal, serious metal station.
It's, it dying and popularity are two different things, If it's not popular, fine. I kind of like it that way, I love being the underdog. I love being the thing that's not liked. I love to build it up again. That's like it's part of the mission in life for me.
It seems like heavy metal in particular goes through its phases, like James said. I mean, it'll go underground, and it'll just simmer there until something happens that brings it back up above ground, and it's the mainstream. And it occupies the mainstream for a while until people just get oversaturated, and then it goes back underground. I mean, I've seen that happen at least 3 or 4 times over the course of our own career, with us and other bands. I mean, it's cyclical.
It's this healthy thing, too.
Yeah, totally.
It's maybe saying that there's too many bands out there, and some have to die off.
Like
so
lemmings.
the strong survive, that's just my theory.
Like lemmings. Wow. Just jumping off the cliff.
Our final question.
Don't follow me, all right, please.
There are
I'm
too
lost.
many bands out there. Some of them have to die off. Quote James Hetfield.
So you, sir, with the
In a
fine
good
t-shirt.
way.
In a good way. In a good way, yeah. John Udis from local Bozo. I got a 2-part question. So we got Ride the Lightning and the Black Album out of the way, but I'm a Jew and my math should be right. We got 20 other songs left for a set list probably. So can we expect anything else rare or unplayable? And then what songs don't you like playing live?
I tell you, do you have any requests? We haven't put the rest of the set list together, so say that again. In its entirety, of course.
Rob will play that. Rob will play that on solo on stage because he's the only one who knows it all the way through.
Okay.
He'll do it too.
Yeah, don't tempt me.
We'll just try to find the right balances, man. It's usually figured out about 5 minutes before we go on stage, sometimes 10, if the crew are lucky. It's there's lots of songs, and we try to find the right balance between when we sort of rolled through whatever particular town last time, and we always want every Metallica experience to be different. Obviously, since we're a pretty active band, we don't sort of disappear for 5 years at a time. We have lots of different songs that we like to play and always vary it as much as possible. So I'm sure the next couple days, the rest of the songs that are not on those 2 records will hopefully be the right balance between a few hits, near hits, and a few deeper album tracks that we haven't played around here for a while.
I have to say, for me, I'm really excited because songs like Call It Cthulhu or Struggle Within, Don't Tread on Me, these are songs that when I first joined the band, I thought it'd be great to play them, and we never really got to it. And it took an outing like this to play them. So you'll hear some, actually first time on this soil. So that's pretty exciting.
Great. Well, thanks very much indeed. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the hard work. Thanks for putting it in. I think everyone's going to enjoy the hard work.
Thanks
from Metallica
for putting it in.
C3.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending.